All right, today we have the official track and field spike tier list. Now, before I get into putting these spikes into their different rankings or whatever, I want to go over how I will decide where these spikes go. First, the function of the spike. This is the very baseline of every single spike and every single athlete's decision on which spikes they're gonna get. I mean, all the way back to Jesse Owens running on a dirt track to today, where everyone has all these different choices to spikes that they're gonna wear. This is the biggest factor on what spikes you're gonna choose to wear. Now, that is not the only factor in these decisions, and I know I might catch a little heat for even suggesting this, but the fashion or drip of the spikes does matter, okay? When you step out on that track to do your race or your field event, you need that extra little bit of confidence that a drippy pair of track spikes gives you. If you have no drip, you're already at a disadvantage. Now, the third and final factor that I will be considering is the brand reputation. This is not as big of a deal as the first two, but what I mean by this is, what athletes do you have signed to your brand? Are all the winners in these different events wearing your brand of spike? Again, this is not as big of a deal, but it does mean a little bit. So it will be something that I will be considering. But with that being said, I will close my eyes, point my finger at my monitor, and pick a random spike to rank first. Here we go, 3, 2, 1. Ooh, this is what we have right here. Right off the bat, the blue and the green has never made sense in my mind why they would ever put these two colors on a pair of spikes. I know there are a couple other spikes in this list with the same colorway, but it doesn't even make sense to me why these two colors would be on the same pair of shoes even. I've never been a big fan of the blue colorway at all, but then you throw the lime green on the bottom. It's just ugly. But also, the function of these spikes are trash. It's like you don't even know what event you want to do. You just want a pair of shoes with some spikes in the bottom to say you have spikes. Now, everything in my soul wants me to put this pair of spikes in D tier, but, and hear me out, I'm gonna put it at C. Although this is the most basic pair of spikes you could own in probably the worst colorway ever invented in a pair of track spikes, this is that one pair of spikes that everyone starts out with, especially in middle school. You will look down the line, you won't see any Max Flies, you won't see any carbon plated spikes, you will see these. Yes, they are rolled. Yes, if you're above 9th grade, you should not ever buy these because they are trash. But there is a special place in my heart for this pair of spikes, and I know a lot of other people share that passion for the spikes. Again, garbage. They're garbage. But everyone started out with these because they were the cheapest and their mom didn't want to buy them the $200 Max Flies. So, C. All right, spike number 2. Oh no. So we have a pair of New Balance spikes. Now, these don't look like spikes even, but I have seen some people running this, and I think Sydney McLaughlin runs with these maybe, or maybe a different pair, but that's another thing with brand reputation. You have Sydney McLaughlin on the New Balance team, so I'm not sure what they're doing with this separated heel and then a lot of cushion on the toe and the heel, but then nothing in the middle. That doesn't really make sense to me, but I do like the colorway on this one. It's a little different than the orange that you'll see with the Max Flies and the Pumas down here. The New Balance logo is just not attractive, if you get what I'm saying. I'm definitely gonna take some points off for the function of these things. I'll be honest, I've not ran in them before, and I don't think most people have ran in these before, which is usually not a good thing. These look like a pair of tennis shoes that you kind of just sliced the middle out of because you wanted to make them lighter or something. I don't even know. I want to put them at B because I know Sydney McLaughlin might run in these, but I'm gonna put them at C because I just don't know. I just don't know how functionable these are. The color is all right, but they just look awkward to run in. The heel is massive compared to all these other the heel is massive compared to all these other spikes where they don't really have the heel because you're supposed to be sprinting, if you get what I'm saying. So I'm just gonna put it at C because I think it's a pretty fair spot for them. All right, here we go. Number 3. Ooh, here's some Adidas. Now the thing that I noticed with the Adidas spikes is that they all look the same, basically. Like if you were to look at these spikes, you would not know what event specific spike this is. It just kind of looks like a normal spike, but has a lot of cushion on like the toes. But I've heard relatively good things about the Adidas spikes. I know they're not terrible. I know there is a lot of good functionality in them. So I will give them the credit that they're due for that aspect. Now in terms of the drip for this specific pair, it kind of matches the drip of the first pair that we had, which is like blue and neon green combined. Am I the only one that thinks this is ugly? Like that's the second brand now that has had this colorway on their spikes, and I just can't imagine, like, imagine you're in a conference room, and this is, both the brands have done this. Imagine you're in a conference room and they have like all of these colorways on the whiteboard in front of you, and there's like 10 people around the table, right? And everyone there has to vote on what color they think we should do for these spikes. I just imagine it's like 85-year-old dudes who ran track back in the 1950s where they had to go barefoot, or they like taped spikes onto their bare feet or something like that. I just imagine they're like, well, back in my day, we wouldn't have went crazy if we had those spikes on our feet. But no, this, I don't know. I don't know why it just makes me mad that they come out with like the dumbest colors, dude. It's honestly not, it's not as bad of a colorway as the Nikes. That one's like a lot more blue, and that especially does not go good together with the neon green, but this kind of like faded blue gray-ish with the green, it's a little bit better. And then the function of the Adidas as well, I've heard good things about. And then finally, in terms of like brand reputation, I think Adidas is leading the way in terms of signing good athletes and making sure track and field is one of their bigger sports that they're putting a lot of money into. So after a long, thoughtful consideration of the Adidas spikes, which I don't know what event this is for, I'm gonna go B. I think the colorway really does take it down a level. These are probably A tier, but just the stupid color that I could go on for hours crying about because it's so bad brings it down to a B. So this goes to B. Next. Ooh. All right, now we have this pair of Puma spikes. These are kind of like the Adidas where it's like hard to tell what event this is for. I'm gonna guess this is like middle distance spike because it has a bigger heel, but it is also built like the spike kind of look. Puma is kind of like Adidas where the functionality is like pretty good. I think Puma is like a little bit worse than Adidas, I would say, but still it's not like to the point where the spikes are like bad compared to other ones. I do like this colorway a lot, especially considering all the other spikes have the same colorway, which I know is kind of like goes against what I'm saying about like having drip and like looking cool, but it also goes into like the brand and like reputation part of it. Like when you see these spikes, you don't even have to see the logo to know that these are Pumas because the color is so specific and it just looks like all the other pairs that have the same colorway. And obviously when you see Puma spikes, you think of Usain Bolt, and Usain Bolt's the kind of guy that transcends the sport of track and field. Like when you go talk to your grandpa, he knows who Usain Bolt is, but ask him if he knows who Noah Lyles is, and I bet he says no. So we've got above average functionality, we've got a good colorway, and the brand recognition is there. I'm gonna go with A tier. It could be S tier, but the build is kind of weird, and mid distance spikes I think are kind of always like below average. You can always just wear distance spikes in my opinion. That's what I like to do, but I'm gonna go A tier. I think that's fair for this pair of spikes. Next, we have stumbled upon the Maxfli 2.0s. Probably the second most anticipated track spike ever made behind the Maxfli 1s, which were probably the most anticipated. Now, from having used both the original Maxflis and the Maxfli 2s, the Maxfli 2s are better. They feel a little bit stiffer. They feel better on your foot. They feel better on the curve, and it might be because that one, hold on. These are the Maxfli 2s, and these are the original Maxflis, and there's a spike missing right in the middle. I don't know why they did this, but there must have been a reason. Like the engineers said that you run faster or more efficient, or I heard like injury prevention without the spike. I don't know if that's why they feel better, but that is one thing that I noticed. Obviously you have the 2 air bubbles still in it, and then you have the plate in the inside that doesn't let it bend. So this is obviously a revolutionary track spike, and this colorway specifically, the all white with the black logo and the orange bubble, is just so appealing to the eye. It's really simple, but it gets the job done. Like if you see this on the dude next to you in the 100, you're like, shit. So the function is obviously there, the drip is there, and the brand recognition is Nike. Now, one thing with Nike, they don't have all the athletes like Adidas, but if we watch the Olympics, a lot of dudes at the Olympics do wear the Max Flies. Even like the guys that, you know, if they're not signed on a like exclusivity deal with a certain track spike brand, a lot of the guys wear the Nike Max Flies. They don't wear the Adidas that Noah Lyles and company wears. So with all that considered, I mean, is it even a debate? Let's go in S tier. Next. Oh, another Nike. Here we go. Another Nike with the bubble. Now, my opinion on the Nike Victory might actually ruffle some feathers here. I've tried the Nike Victories a couple different times. I tried them last year for a couple times, and I tried them this year once. But the Nike Dragonfly, which is not on this list because it's not a sprint spike, is better for sprinting than this spike. I think people just see the bubble and they like recognize that, hey, the Max Fly has a bubble, so this one must be fast too. No, it's not the same, because you're not all out sprinting. Like if you're finishing at 800, you're giving everything you have, but you're not hitting that top speed that you need for the Max Fly. So that's why I use the Nike Dragonfly, and I run the 1000 in the decathlon. So the function of these, and I know this is gonna ruffle some feathers because I know a lot of people love these spikes, but the function of these are just not, they don't hit the standards that, you know, I expected them to hit. But I do like the color of these, and that's, you know, this is totally different than these other 2, blue and neon green, because this, I would consider this neon green, but this is the good kind of neon green where the whole shoe kind of fits together. It's not like you took 2 different parts. Like look at the blue Nikes in C. You have a blue top, and it looks like you ran out of spikes on the bottom, so you had to take spikes from a different pair of shoes, like these neon green ones that we're talking about right now, and then you had to throw them on this blue top, and it just doesn't make sense. And let me just say, these spikes are not bad, okay? I'm saying they're not as good as the Dragonfly or the Max Fly, because they're like trying to be in between, but you can't be in between 2 greats, right? But I do want to be fair, and I think that these are like B tier. And I know people are gonna spaz out on me because, oh, it should be S tier, these are the best spikes ever made. No, they're not. Next. Oh, another Nike pair. This is another one of those where it's like in between, well, it's not even in between 2 great things, because it's basically in between this, the blue pair of Nikes in the C right here. It's basically in between this and the Max Fly, but just the Max Fly has no bubble, but it still has that hard plate where like it's hard to bend. So you get that extra energy that you don't get in this pair in the C. So the function is kind of there, like it's there because you expect it to do what it does, and it does what you expect it to do, but it's nothing like special. One of the good things about it is that you do feel like really close to the ground, if that's something that you like. The Max Flies you don't, because it has that bubble and it does have that cushion on the heel. This one has no cushion, it has no bubble, so you're basically running on a plate with spikes drilled on the bottom. Now the good thing about that is that these are very, very light, like way lighter than any spike you could ever wear. I think they're probably lighter than this blue pair in the C tier. So that's one thing. If you really like the light spikes and you like feeling like you're running with nothing on, these are very good. So there's my explanation on the function. Now with the drip, I do like this colorway, and I know some people don't like the pink, or it's like a weird, because it does have this neon green plate, which You know my opinions on the neon green plate. I just don't get it. Like, who in the conference room came up with this idea? They don't look as bad as these ones, but there is function. These won't break. They'll make you run pretty fast, faster than you would without them. And the colorway's all right. I think it's an A tier. The color's not bad enough to bring it down to B, and the function of it is good enough to keep it A. It's not S, but it is A. I think that's a fair spot for it to go. Next. Oh, all right. We have these Adidas spikes. These are pretty old, I think. I think these are probably 4 or 5 or 6 years old. And these are like before Adidas was even cool. Like, these have to have been before Noah Lyles ever signed with Adidas. So the brand is not there. Now the color is not terrible. It's not good, but this is pre Noah Lyles. This is like the budget. Oh man, Mom, you got me Adidas spikes. I wanted the Nike ones. Like, that's what this spike is. Man, I don't want to put it at D, but I think I'm gonna have to. Like, these are not good. They're old. They don't look that good. And I remember a lot of kids had these and they were all rolled. So with that being said, I'm gonna officially put these at D, and I'm sorry, but this is like back when Adidas was embarrassing to wear. All right, last one. Oh, we have these Adidas. These are the newer Adidas. This is definitely, I think Noah Lyles might have worn this or like a different pair. And the first thing that catches my eye is this color. Especially look at the plate. It's like pink-ish orange, a little bit of like spice to add on to the all black. I was never a big Adidas guy, but if you gave me these, I would probably run in them, because this is like the new golden era of Adidas spikes is right here. This is the Noah Lyles Olympic champ track spike. So the functionality is definitely there, probably S tier functionality. The drip as well. I mean, I would give the drip an A tier because it's nothing special. Like, these are just unbelievably sleek. This one is kind of there. I think the logo is a little like weird. It doesn't fit maybe. It still looks good. And then the last one is brand reputation. I mean, you have the Olympic champ wore these. Like, that's all you need to say when you're talking to your mom, and she's like, all right, what track spikes do you want? We don't want to spend a lot of money, but we want you to be fast. And you pull up these on the website and you're like, Mom, guess who wore the same pair? The Olympic champion. And that's like all you have to say. And she's like, oh, so it's like that, huh? So I'm gonna give it S tier. And this hurts me because I'm a big Maxfly 2, Maxfly 1 guy, but I just think this is a S tier pair of spikes. It has Noah Lyles behind it. It has a good colorway, has amazing functionality. So I think it deserves a S tier, and I'm sticking with this. But yeah, this is my complete track spike tier list. If you disagree with me, feel free to leave a comment. I'll respond to you explaining why I am definitely right and you are definitely wrong. But if you enjoyed this video, click the subscribe button, turn on the notifications so you see my next video, and I'll see you guys later.